Hi there. Today I'm going to be making a quick video that just covers the fundamentals of marketing. And this is mainly targeted towards home service businesses. So landscapers, roofers, plumbers, any company that performs residential services or commercial services, targeting a specific geographical location. The reason that I'm making this video is because I've talked with more and more of you guys that run these home service companies, and the number of people that are spending money on things that are not actually going to help them move the needle at all is just astounding, right? And this is becoming increasingly difficult with the number of people that are popping up, starting agencies for SEO and meta ads and all this other stuff. Most of them are going to be trying to learn how to do it, and they're going to be doing it on your dime. So please be careful if you're trying to spend money on this stuff. That's why I'm putting out this content for free. I want to really try to start with value, educate you all first on what you really need for your business, what really gets things going. Let's go ahead and get started. So the things that you really need before you jump into anything else, and I forgot to add one more, you need an ops system as well. So the first thing that you need when you're talking about fundamental marketing and fulfillment systems for a home service company, the first thing is you need a fast loading, conversion focused website. And I'll dive into what those terms specifically mean in a different video. But for most home services businesses, especially unless you have like a ton of margin, you're already doing really, really well, you already have a large team, then you can start diving into some more of those specific, CRO optimization type things, and starting to put more case studies on your website, whatever. But for the most part, you can build a website yourself, absolutely. And there's really just a handful of things you need to make sure that you're putting on your website. So again, that's going to be a separate video. I'll explain how to put together a fast conversion focused website. I'll explain the layout that you need. I'll explain all the different elements that you need. But that's absolutely something you can do yourself, or you can get somebody to do it for you for pretty cheap. So please don't go spending a boatload of money on a new website, unless you're, again, already a well-established business. You need something custom. That's a different story. But we're talking more about, again, this is the fundamentals. This is just if you're trying to get everything set up, get a system in place. So that's number one. Number two is good SEO. Again, there's a long tail of different things you can do with SEO, but good SEO practices are not that difficult to implement and shouldn't take you very long. So if you have somebody that does your website, I'll give you a checklist that will go through and, explain, here's everything that you need to be doing for SEO. Again, it's not very much. So don't go and pay 5 or 10K a month to an SEO agency. Again, unless you're already doing large scale business and you're like trying to get that number one spot or something like that, then it's a little bit different. The third thing is Google My Business. So if you're in the home service industry, you probably already know about this, but yeah, you need a GMB profile, and you need to make sure that all the details are linked up with your website, and you need to make sure that you're putting keywords in the description, things like that. But that's number three. And then the last thing is an ops system. I recommend using Jobber because that's what I've used in the past, and I find it pretty helpful. Obviously, it's not perfect, nothing is, but Jobber tends to get the job done really well. So those are the four things, and I'll explain why those are the four things that I focus on, and you'll notice there's nothing about pay-per-click ads, Google ads, meta ads, TikTok ads, anything like that. We'll talk about that in a different video, but unless you're ready to invest a lot of time and money into learning those platforms, chances are it is not going to be worth your money to start out with. So let's go ahead and get started. So what this represents is this is just the feedback loop that I would consider. This is what you want to get set up for your business if you're in the home service industry, because you get all of this set up and then it just builds on itself year over year over year. So you're constantly building up a larger and larger customer base, and then you're able to sell and remarket to your existing customers, and you sort of just start building this flywheel of larger and larger margins, better, higher paying customers, more customers, more money, all that good stuff. So let's start out with the very front here, improve lead generation. So that's what you'll get if you have good SEO, a fast-loading, conversion-focused website, and your Google My Business profile set up. So that's going to help your lead generation. There's definitely a little bit of a cold start problem, which we'll talk about in a different video. But again, if you already have a handful of reviews, chances are just updating your website, making sure your SEO is set up, and then getting your Google My Business profile up to date. Chances are you're still going to be able to be found organically through Google. So that will be good for you. And again, this will help you start to get some lead generation. So the next thing after you have lead generation is you want to have some kind of an intro offer. And the reason, well, let me start with saying what an intro offer is. So a lot of home service businesses, they sort of have these bread and butter offerings that are where they are making a lot of their money. So I'll use landscapers because that's who I've worked with the most for home services, but a good example of that would be design build for landscapers. So these are typically very large jobs, really solid margin in them, but it's a lot harder to get a consistent pipeline of design build jobs just because the pool of potential customers are much smaller. And you're typically competing against other companies with a lot of resources. So the reason that I mention an intro offer is because it is a good way to get customers into your system and to build trust with a much easier threshold for selling them. So it's much easier to sell a customer on, even a $500 yard cleanup or a few $100 garden bed refresh or something like that, right? Some sort of lower priced intro offer that much more people would be willing to say yes to. And then from there, now they're in your system. Now you can begin remarketing to them. And again, it builds that trust, so if they ever do want to do a larger design build thing, they know that you do it and they can just call you and they already know you. And then B, you can just remarket them with other smaller ticket services until they're ready to make that larger purchase. So that's number one. Definitely want to have an intro offer. Next thing, so after you get your intro offer, this also, because it's expanding your customer base, because you've improved your lead generation, you have a more professional website, you're going to be able to start selecting better, higher paying customers. And so, if you're in a situation where you're just saying yes to everybody, that's certainly something you can do. But, the more leads you have, the pickier you can become with who you actually say yes to. And because, all of this stuff because we're building a system out of all of this, the customer experience is going to get better, which we'll talk about. But all of that just means that it's going to be more convenient for your customer. So most homeowners, if you've ever worked with a crew that they don't have a website or anything like that, they just do word of mouth. It's like you just text them, you try to get on their schedule, you try to get a hold of them. They're usually busy and hard to get a hold of. Maybe they'll say they'll be there at a certain time, and then they don't show up. I mean, it's just, they aren't charging as much because they don't have some of this overhead. But again, the better, higher paying customers are willing to pay a premium for the convenience. So the better you get at putting this stuff into a system, the more convenient you make it for your customers, the better, higher paying customers you'll be able to attract. And then again, because you have better, higher paying customers, you'll be able to focus more on delivering a high quality service. You're not going to be haggling with people over very low margin service calls all the time, anything like that. Again, you're building out this flywheel to get the best customers that you possibly can, because you're going to make it as convenient as possible for them to work with you. And then because of that, you're going to be able to focus more on delivering a high quality service, because you're going to have better margins, easier customers to work with. And that's going to mean a better customer experience overall. So not only is it more convenient, it's a much higher quality service. So again, this is just all a positive feedback loop. None of these things are hacks. None of these things are, it's not tricking anybody. You're just setting things up correctly to deliver the best experience possible. And then all of this, if you set up the system correctly, all of this will just feed back in this virtual cycle to help grow your business and keep it growing. So like I said, better customer experience because of the higher quality service, because of the convenience. And then this is really where you start to loop back into the rest of things. So this is, and to me, this is also where an ops systems comes into play. Is you want to have something in place, again, like Jobber. Jobber has a nice feature where you can automatically prompt customers for review after a job is complete. So the more customers you have, if you're doing an intro offer, you can start to capture more and more customers than you might normally would if you're only doing high ticket stuff. But you start this feedback loop here, and then you begin pushing for more reviews from more customers. And 5-star reviews is really where this starts to really feed into itself, because Google My Business, the Google My Business profile, this is a huge deal for lead generation for local businesses, because when you Google something, the first thing that pops up when you Google something local to you is what's called the map pack. So it brings up the map of your local area, and then it highlights companies that are nearby you. And the 5-star reviews are a huge factor in that ranking. And so that's why you begin this feedback cycle, you start to get more and more 5-star reviews. This is really something that, even if you haven't set this up yet, really, really have to push on your customers to leave you reviews. Because like I said, this is massive for Google. So you get more and more 5-star reviews. And then again, that is going to lead to better lead generation. So this path down here, the more 5-star reviews you had, like I said, it's going to help your Google business profile, get you more lead generation, which is just going to start this cycle all over again. But the other thing is, now that you have all of these customers in your ops system, you can begin running targeted email campaigns based on what they've already purchased. So if you have, maybe your intro offer has something to do with flower beds, or maybe it has something to do with lawn sprinkling or something like that, you can begin sending out targeted emails to everybody about, hey, I live up here in Michigan, so once it gets into late fall, early winter, you got to make sure that you're blowing out your sprinkler lines before the ground freezes. That way your sprinkler lines don't freeze and break. So it's very easy just to build an email campaign in Jobber to send out email marketing blasts about, hey, make sure that you're turning off your sprinklers and blowing out your lines. Oh, hey, do you want to do that with us? Schedule a time here. Or maybe you run some kind of intro offer for getting people in the door for design build, right? Like, oh, hey, maybe you want to do a new flower bed design for this year, and that they could use a flower bed design because you went and did a leaf pickup at their house last year and you saw that their garden beds were a mess or something. So these are all the abilities that you can do once you have a larger set of customers and you have them all in a single system. You can begin sending out emails to them on a regular cadence. So this is to me, this is the fundamental system of marketing. If you are not doing any piece of this, I highly, highly recommend that you implement it, because it's going to be massively helpful for your business. The last thing that I will end with, because, I know that many people that own home service companies, they're passionate about what they do. They're passionate about the service that they're bringing, and they're not marketers by trade. So I just talked with a landscaper recently that said, I stopped doing all marketing a few years ago because I just wanted to transition to a only word of mouth company, right? I didn't want to have to market. Unfortunately, that's really not something you can do, is rely only on word of mouth. Just remember that people are very busy. They have a lot of different things going on. Even if you are good friends with them, or you feel like you had a really good relationship with them, leads go cold after a certain amount of time. People just, they move on with their lives. They're not going to remember that you asked them to recommend you and all this other stuff. People are busy. So you have to tell people about what you offer, and you have to remind them regularly. So it can be annoying sometimes to do marketing, but even just to maintain your business, you still have to market regularly, and you definitely have to market regularly if you want to grow your business. So I'll leave you with that. If you want help or a consultation for getting any of this stuff set up, please let me know. We do free system consultations like this. We'll write you up a total a system brief from start to end here on what you should be doing. If you have a website, we'll go through and roast it for you and tell you why it's, what the things that we would improve on it, all that kind of stuff. So we have a whole bunch of free resources if you are looking to improve the marketing for your business. So definitely let us know. And yeah, hope this was helpful. See you next time.